My guest tonight is a big-hearted high achiever. She believes in putting people before profits and is one of those people who just gets in and does what needs to be done. This has led her to not just one, but actually 3 experiences of burnout. She spent 17 years in the Middle East in HR and organisational development. She's been trailblazing a path in holistic success, is a TEDx speaker, 3 times best-selling author, raw foods teacher, and detox advisor. She has a vision to reach 1 million people and to see the end of death by desk. Having aroused your curiosity, it's now my privilege to introduce Nicole Van Hattem. Nicole, welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
I think the audience is curious, and so am I. You shared with me that you are actually on a mission to end the epidemic of death by desk. You said you wanted to do that through inspiring conversations that change the way we actually live at work. You also confessed to me that even though you've actually been a very high achiever, you had become fat, sick, and successful. How did all that come to be?
Well, like many people who are watching this video, I spent incredibly long hours sitting behind my desk, achieving incredible results for the organisation, enjoying the process, but at a high cost that I wasn't aware of. Slowly over time, my body began to call out and try and get my attention, which I promptly ignored. However, over time, it became pretty obvious by just simply looking at the outside of me that there was something going on underneath the surface that was setting me up for failure. However, I believed that we were all doing it. I didn't see anything unusual with what I was doing. And the statistics that I understood later were that a man that sits for more than 6 hours a day is 40% more likely to die of a lifestyle-related disease than a man that does not. And the statistics for women are 90%. So it's quite incredible. If you are sitting behind your desk, you could literally be dying.
When you were sharing with me earlier about that workplace, you know, where pretty magnificent things were rolling out, you said everyone was doing it, and that included your boss.
My boss, Charles, was an incredible man, big heart, put absolutely everything into his work and really took care of his people. He was an incredible role model for me and a really close friend. However, the choices that he and I were both making, the way we were living our lives at work behind the desk, resulted in my ill health, and it killed him. And he was 49.
So you've been painting for me before we came on the show tonight this image of incredible success that was like all the trappings were actually there. But you said to me, you know, there were actually a few cracks. So what was underneath those cracks?
Honestly, I was really scared that despite all the way it looked on the outside, that somebody would discover that I was a success fraud. I was too afraid to ask for help, too afraid to show my vulnerability, and as a result, I suffered a lot longer than I needed to. Eventually, I woke up to the fact that the only person who could save me was me. And I went on a detox retreat, and I went on several detox retreats to learn what I needed to learn. But what I want people to understand is that you have to begin to listen to those little signs that you are deteriorating, that something isn't quite working.
For you, some of those signs weren't just little, though, were they?
No,
there were big signs. Your body was giving you big messages.
I had bleeding gums, emotional disorder, anxiety attacks, heart palpitations, bloating, gas, diarrhea and constipation all at the same time, food addictions, alcohol addictions. It was quite an incredibly long list, and I just put it down to, oh, I'm tired, I'm a bit stressed. I went to the doctors, and the doctors said, oh, that's interesting. Don't worry, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just normal signs of aging. And I was 38.
So what happened when you actually stopped and started listening to your body?
I was a bit shocked at what it was telling me, and I tried to run away from it for a while. But when I did give it what it needed, which was took personal responsibility for nourishing it, giving it love, giving it time, breathing, getting out from behind the desk, stopping deforming myself in the way that I was living myself at work behind that desk. And I lost 17 kilos of fat. I slept better, I had mental clarity, I actually looked younger, and I performed better for longer with less effort.
I've been amused a couple of times when we've been talking. You've referred to the deformation or deformation of man, and that's a pretty controversial statement. So, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that the more time we sit behind our desk, so I gave statistics before, I was sitting 16 hours a day, not just behind my desk at work, but when I ate, when I commuted to and from work and at the workplace. And during that process, my range of motion was very limited. I was operating within a small range of motion. And what happens over time is that your body begins to adapt to that environment. So if you don't use it, you really do lose it. So you end up spending all this time behind a computer, on these screens, doing this very limited range of motion. And in fact, even the back of my thighs had deformed to the shape of my chair. So when I stood up, I had a ridge there in the fat in the back of my legs. So literally I was compressing the tissue so much that even when I stood up and moved around, it couldn't rebound. I was deforming myself. And literally, we are deforming ourselves with this limited, constricted life in a box, in a desk, behind a computer.
Nicole, I want to honour you for the learning that you've had along this pathway back to health and re-evaluating how you will live in your life. And for me, it's a conversation a lot of people are really afraid to have. So I think that's one thing that you're going to give the listening audience, that courage to look at ourselves. And you're calling people to be responsible, but also response-able, giving the notion that, they can achieve and move past the difficulties. None of us are losers, but I'm really aware in this moment, a lot of humanity is moving through difficult times. As we go to the close, what is one last thing you would like to say to the audience?
I would like to invite the audience to stand up for your right not to sit down.
Will the audience please stand? Thank you all for being a stand for The Point TV.